We've been trying to get through to people for literally months that the mass deportation that Trump sold as targeting the worst of the worst, the killers, the thieves, the people doing the SA was never actually that. And the evidence has now apparently become so indisputable that they're not even really pretending anymore. No, in fact, they seem to now be excited about the fact that non-criminals are being rounded up. Take a look at Tom Homan.
National security threats, public safety threats are always the priority. But if you're in the country legally, you're not off the table. I mean, I see people, saying we're arresting non-criminals. Well, they're in the country legally. That's our job. And we told ICE agents in the process going out looking for the bad guy. And this is the problem with sanctuary cities. When we go to the community to go find the criminal, many times they're with others that may not be a criminal target, but they're in the United States illegally. They're coming too.
I don't want to do a whole nother 3-minute thing about how they're straining the word criminal to the breaking point. It's people with sometimes bad paperwork. That's literally all. It's a civil violation. It's not a felony. They didn't, you know that. You try to hide it by calling them all criminal migrants or whatever. Again, you did not get elected on getting people worked into a frenzy about like the plight of migrants who were late with their paperwork. That is not what you sold. No, what you sold was America is being decimated by Mad Maxian hordes of cannibal Guatemalans. That is what you ran on, you know it. And oopsie, turns out we never actually had that. It turns out there actually aren't that many criminal migrants. It turns out there actually wasn't a crime wave either. If only people had known the truth, I say every single day of my life. But here's a fun chart to really sell the truth. Contrast this with what you saw there. So deportations are going on January, February, March, all of that. They're trying to track people down. They're trying to send them away. And they're getting more and more frustrated because the numbers aren't nearly high enough. Again, keep this up for a while. Remember, they said, thank you, that's very nice of you. They said, we're gonna deport 11 million people, 20, 30 million people. Every person you've ever met is a migrant. And turns out you can't actually do that just going for like the hardcore worst of the worst because there aren't that many of them. And to be clear, the red line, which is like the criminal line, that's any criminal convictions. That's not murderers. That's not people who committed assault, larceny, burglary, arson. That's literally anything. That's traffic violations. That's whatever. And again, it's immigration crimes too. So that is the lowest bar possible for the red line. But the issue is as they go on, January, February, March, into April, it's like, oh, the numbers aren't high enough. And Stephen Miller is getting so angry. So what do? They start sending the National Guard out. They start sending the Marines out. Just get anyone. And they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars doing this, soon billions of dollars doing this. And what have they done? Well, they got that yellow line to go up fast, and the yellow line is people with no criminal history whatsoever. No charges that have gone all the way through, no prior jail time, no claims of criminality. All they've done is run afoul of paperwork and bureaucracy. That's it. And that's who's now being rounded up. And you are paying so very much for it. And soon much more because Trump's big bill allocates tens of billions more dollars specifically to ICE to do the sort of thing that we've been talking about. And so we told you during the campaign that it was going to be a lie, that it wasn't actually true, that you didn't have this crime wave. And every single day, we're proven more and more right about that. And so we can run through some more data. There's a lot out there. According to the Deportation Data Project, a group that collects immigration numbers, about half the people in detention right now don't have any criminal convictions whatsoever. And again, a criminal conviction can be for incredibly light and minor stuff. That's close to 30,000 people in detention without a criminal record. The group that has grown the most in recent months. I mean, you saw it. It's skyrocketing right now. And so according to Professor Blair, let's run through just a little bit more of this. One of the directors of that project, the ICE raids in LA, which we're gonna focus on more, marked a turning point. People without criminal records were increasingly being arrested. NPR's review of ICE data found that the number of people without criminal convictions in detention nearly doubled since May, more than any other group of detainees. And we know what Stephen Miller was doing in that time, busting into these meetings and yelling at people and telling them, you gotta get into the Home Depots, you gotta get into the restaurants, which is leading to all this chaos inside of the MAGA movement right now. And so let's talk a little bit about polling. And I think tomorrow on the show on Big News Wednesday, we're gonna do a deep dive into a lot of the polling of Trump and his regime. But last year, a Gallup poll found that 55% of Americans wanted less immigration. A poll by NPR with PBS News and Marist shows that 52% of Americans disapprove of Trump's current approach to immigration enforcement. And do you know how bad your anti-migrant deportation scheme needs to be for the American people to turn against it? Because I'll show you this stuff about the different categories: people with convictions, people with charges, people with nothing. And I'll differentiate those things because I think, the vast majority of those people, especially all the people who've never been accused of anything, I think they make America far stronger by their presence. I also understand that there's a lot of Americans that don't agree with me on that. There's a lot of people that have been propagandized to by our inherently racist media and culture to think that the mere presence of them weakens America, regardless of any crimes. But despite that's what we're working with for a lot of Americans, tens of millions, they still see all this and think that it's bad. And look, it's understandable to some extent. It's literally the National Guard and the Marines in the streets of American cities. And people don't like that. They don't like to see workplaces being busted down. They don't like to see dozens of US citizens being deported and families being broken up and people not being there for the birth of their children. Every day we see more horrors. I just hope that enough people see them.